JD Vance is set to take the stage at a campaign event in Cobb County very soon.
So this follows a second assassination attempt against former President Donald Trump at his Florida golf course yesterday. And today, the suspect, you can see right there on your screen, 58-year-old Ryan Routh appeared in a federal courtroom for the very first time, and he's facing 2 federal gun charges. The FBI says that he hid in the bushes and pointed an AR-style rifle at the former president. And according to the FBI, Routh had been in the area near the golf course almost 12 hours leading up to that incident.
And we do have live team coverage tonight from political team members Doug Richards and Zach Merchant as we get ready to hear from the vice presidential nominee. We want to start with Zach. Zach, we know that there is a lot of security out there, tighter than what we saw before this incident happened.
Right. We are inside the Cobb Galleria Center, and it seems as though we are seeing some of the impacts of that plot yesterday, the attempted assassination attempt against former President Donald Trump. While no official reason has been given, campaign staffers have reduced access to Senator JD Vance in the wake of that plot. But that has not stopped campaigning. Senator Vance earlier today sent out a fundraising email calling it another attempt on President Trump's life. Governor Brian Kemp, who is also slated to speak tonight, released a tweet saying he was grateful Mr. Trump was unhurt and called for prayers for the country. And earlier today, President Joe Biden called for Congress to work with the Secret Service to make sure the agency has what it needs to keep its protectees safe. Vance, Kemp, and others will be speaking at tonight's Georgia Faith and Freedom Coalition dinner. It is a conservative Christian policy group that represents an important Republican voting bloc. Republicans will want to turn out in big numbers in this year's November election. In Cobb County, Zach Merchant, 11 Alive News.
Our thanks to Zach for that. Doug Richards joining us live now with a closer look at the Georgia Faith and Freedom Coalition. So, Doug, how influential is this group?
Well, part of the reason that Georgia Republicans have been so successful in elections is due to the efforts of the Faith and Freedom Coalition, a group that's not only effective in the state capitol, but also around the state, especially in red counties, especially at election time. In 2020, we watched Faith and Freedom Coalition volunteers descend by the busload into Cobb County neighborhoods, where they knocked on doors to highlight contrast between Republican Donald Trump and Democrat Joe Biden. The previous year, the Faith and Freedom Coalition helped Georgia Republicans pass the heartbeat bill, which took effect after a U.S. Supreme Court ruling overturned Roe v. Wade.
The media conversation about the abortion ban has died down some in the last 2 years, but the consequences are still real every day for Georgia women.
Democrat Josh McLaurin, who as a senator opposed the heartbeat bill, says it's fitting that JD Vance is headlining the Faith and Freedom Coalition meeting tonight. The coalition says it is doing voter outreach again this year as Trump and Kamala Harris compete for Georgia's electoral votes.
The contrast in this election has never been more clear. Our teams are canvassing today, every day. We've already knocked on 283,000 doors across the state, and all we're doing is telling voters where the candidates stand on the issue. Where do they stand on life? Where do they stand on religious freedom?
So the folks in the audience here at the Cobb Galleria are already sold on the Trump-Vance ticket almost entirely. But the reason that Vance wants to be here speaking to them is because these are folks who will try to influence their neighbors, who will go out and leaflet people, make phone calls, and be multipliers as election day approaches. We are live in Cobb County tonight. Back to you.
Certainly the base of the party that they will be speaking with tonight. Doug Richards live for us. Thank you so much. Well, Vice President Kamala Harris's running mate, Governor Tim Walz, also making the trip to Georgia. He is set to land in Macon tonight and then travel to Atlanta tomorrow afternoon for a campaign event. We'll, of course, bring you his top comments tomorrow.